You have always feared the silence between answers, the pause before the outcome, the void that swallows certainty, yet in that silence hides the key you've been searching for, the one thing your restless mind could never control. What if the unknown was never your enemy? What if the thing you've been resisting with every muscle of your mind is the only doorway through which your soul can finally breathe? Fear tells you that certainty is safety, but certainty is only a cage painted gold. We cling to the walls of the predictable, mistaking repetition for life. Yet the universe does not create by repetition, it creates by the trembling birth of the unexpected. The lie whispered into your being since childhood is that control guarantees survival, that knowing the map before the journey begins will save you from being broken. But the truth is harsher and more liberating. No map can carry you to yourself. The path is carved only in the act of walking, and the terrain bends according to the steps you dare to take. The illusion of certainty was built not to protect you, but to tame you, to keep you grazing in a field already defined by another hand. Think of the moments that shaped you most. Were they ever planned? Was the deepest love scripted? Was the heartbreak marked neatly in a calendar? Did the greatest turning point of your life arrive as a scheduled event, or did it erupt like lightning without announcement, without permission? The unknown has always been the midwife of your becoming. It was never chaos, it was always initiation. The mind hates this. The mind demands ground under its feet, borders around its vision, and guarantees before it dares to act. But the soul thrives where the map ends. The soul hungers for the abyss because only in the abyss does it remember what it truly is, infinite. And here lies the paradox you've been running from. The moment you stop demanding certainty, life becomes certain in a deeper way. Not because you know what tomorrow will bring, but because you realize tomorrow has no power over you. Your being is not anchored in outcomes. Your being is anchored in the eternal now, and in that realization, uncertainty becomes nothing but unshaped possibility. You weren't meant to master the unknown, you were meant to merge with it. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast forest at night. Your lamp lights only a few steps ahead, and beyond that is pure darkness. The mind panics. It wants the whole path illuminated, every branch mapped, every shadow explained. But the soul is different. The soul looks into the dark and smiles, because it knows that only the next step is ever real. Everything beyond that is a dream, a speculation, a phantom. And so it teaches you to walk, step by trembling step, until the darkness itself becomes your companion. This is why the unknown terrifies you. Not because it hides danger, but because it hides your real self. Entering it means surrendering the version of you built entirely on what can be predicted and controlled. Entering it means losing the shallow identity that was crafted only for the familiar. And so, the fear you feel is not fear of the unknown. It is fear of the death of the known. Fear is not a warning. It is the sound of the old self breaking. But do you see what this means? Every time you hesitate before a decision, every time your chest tightens before change, every time you tremble at the thought of stepping where you cannot see, that tremble is not danger. It is resurrection. It is the soil cracking so that something new may emerge. Fear is not an enemy but a midwife. It delivers you into a greater birth. If you can sit with that trembling, if you can breathe into the darkness without running, something extraordinary happens. The unknown begins to speak, not with words but with sensations, with whispers that bypass thought. A current moves through you, subtle at first, then undeniable. You realize the unknown was never empty. It was filled with guidance waiting for you to stop filling it with your panic. This is the secret. When you resist the unknown, it collapses into terror. When you trust it, it blossoms into revelation. If you've ever felt this pull, the strange ache in your chest when you're about to leave behind the known, the way your breath catches at the edge of a decision that could unravel everything, you are already remembering. You are remembering that your soul was not designed for cages, that the infinite cannot live inside the predictable. You are remembering that the path opens only when you step into it, not before. And if this remembrance stirs in you, then you know this message is not coincidence, it is recognition. You didn't remember the truth, it remembered you. There is a hidden architecture to uncertainty. Most people see only the fog, but within that fog lies a mirror. It does not show you the future. It shows you the face you carry into the future. That is why two people can walk into the same unknown, and one finds terror while the other finds transformation. The unknown bends to the presence you bring into it. It is not a fixed void but a living canvas. What you expect, you summon. What you trust, you receive. And so the real question is not, what will happen if I step into the unknown? The real question is, who will I be when I step into it? For the unknown does not reveal itself as independent of you. It reveals you. This is the unspoken initiation of life. Not to master knowledge, not to cling to certainty, but to allow yourself to dissolve into the mystery without shattering. To let the waves of unpredictability strip away every false anchor until only the eternal self remains. You are not being asked to leap blindly. You are being asked to walk honestly, to acknowledge that every identity you've carried so far has been a costume stitched together by the familiar. And if that costume feels heavy now, if it itches at your skin, if it feels like it no longer fits the person you are becoming, then the unknown is calling, not to punish but to undress, not to destroy but to reveal. The greatest secret is this: the unknown is not coming, it is already here. It breathes through the gaps in your plans, it lingers in the silence after every question, it stands quietly in every moment where you don't know what to do next, and in those moments, the real you is closest. Do you feel it? That trembling presence just behind your ribs, that quiet urge that tells you there is more to you than the script you've been reading from. This is not imagination. This is your own being calling you out of the known, asking you to risk collapse, so you may finally expand. The unknown does not demand you to abandon everything you love. It asks you to release the illusion that love can ever be safe inside a cage. It whispers to you, in the soft breaking of your old attachments, in the way familiar paths suddenly lose their glow, in the strange emptiness that appears when yesterday's answers no longer soothe you. And though your mind calls this emptiness a threat, your soul knows it as invitation. Look at your life with honesty. How many choices have you delayed? How many dreams have you buried? How many truths have you silenced because you demanded a guarantee first? You've been waiting for certainty, as though certainty was the price of admission to existence. Yet existence has always been ruthless in its refusal to bargain. It does not offer guarantees. It offers only the unfolding, the unrepeatable stream of this moment, where security dissolves but freedom appears. The paradox is clear. The more you chase certainty, the less alive you feel. The more you demand answers, the more shallow your questions become. But when you surrender to uncertainty, when you no longer insist on knowing, the texture of life deepens. Colors sharpen, sounds grow clearer, encounters become more alive, because you are no longer watching life from a distance, through the glass of prediction. You are inside it, drenched in its unpredictability, carried by its river instead of clinging to its banks. To fear the unknown is to fear the very place where life is born. This is not poetic exaggeration. Consider it. Every breath you take is unknown until it enters you. Every word you speak is unknown until it leaves you. Every relationship begins in uncertainty. Every transformation emerges from a space where nothing was familiar before. If you strip away the illusion of control, you will see that your whole existence has been sustained by the unknown all along. You've never lived in certainty, only in the fragile comfort of believing you had it. What you call security is merely repetition, and repetition is only memory looping itself through time. The system taught you to cling to this loop, to repeat the same jobs, the same roles, the same beliefs, because predictability makes you easier to control. Yet beneath the surface, your soul keeps stirring. It refuses to be tamed by loops. It longs to fracture the cycle and step beyond it, into that strange dimension where destiny does not repeat but unfolds. And yes, it feels like death, because in a way it is, the death of the scripted self. The one who is told that safety lives in guarantees, that success lives in plans, that love lives only where rejection is impossible. That self must die so that something wider may rise. But this death is not tragedy, it is initiation. You must allow yourself to grieve the old certainty. You must let the tears fall when the ground you stood on dissolves beneath you. You must honor the panic that rushes in when your plans collapse. But do not mistake this panic for truth. It is only the sound of the old scaffolding crumbling. If you dare to remain present in that collapse, you will feel it, the first spark of something vast, something alive, something real. The collapse you fear is only the doorway you asked for. So many run from this threshold. They patch the crumbling walls of their certainty with distractions, addictions, shallow promises. They pretend they are not standing in the unknown. They numb themselves with the familiar, even when the familiar has become poison. But you, if you are still here, listening, you cannot unknow what you feel stirring inside you. The veil has already thinned. You are already being pulled. You are not weak for trembling at the unknown. You are weak only if you pretend it is not calling you. Strength is not measured by how firmly you hold on to certainty, but by how gently you release it. Strength is walking into the fog without demanding it turn into daylight first. Perhaps you've been taught that trust is naive, that to trust the unseen is foolish, dangerous. But trust is not the absence of fear. Trust is the decision to step even while fear trembles in your bones. It is the silent knowing that life is not waiting to destroy you but to reveal you, and the unknown is the stage on which that revelation unfolds. Think of the butterfly. Before it could fly, it dissolved into formlessness inside the cocoon. It did not negotiate with certainty. It did not ask for proof of wings before melting into chaos. It trusted the unknown enough to let itself dissolve, and from that surrender, it emerged with wings. Do you not feel that the same pattern lives in you? That your soul too is pressed against the walls of an old cocoon, trembling at the dissolution, but secretly aching for the flight that follows? If your heart is racing right now, if something inside you aches as though these words were not spoken to you but through you, then know this: you are remembering, not learning, not being convinced, remembering. You already stood at this threshold many times, in many lives, in many dreams. Each time you resisted, each time you postponed. But now you are here again, and the unknown waits patiently, like a mirror, like an ocean, like a lover who knows you will eventually return. And if you feel this resonance, allow yourself to pause. Breathe, not because you need to understand, but because something is already shifting beneath the surface. You are standing at the edge, and the edge is holy. The edge frightens you because it refuses to provide footholds. It stretches out like a cliff into mist, and your instincts scream for ground, for the familiar texture of stability. Yet what you call ground has always been an illusion, a thin shell floating on infinite depth. The cliff, the mist, the emptiness, these are not your enemies. They are the true landscape of your soul, revealed only when the false surfaces crumble. Why then do you hesitate? Because the unknown strips away the false identity that kept you safe. The self built on predictability does not know how to breathe when patterns vanish. The mind begs for maps, for answers, for a story that explains what will come next. But the unknown does not give maps. It gives you only your own heartbeat as compass, only your own courage as ground. This is why the unknown terrifies, not because it hides darkness, but because it reveals your own light. It is easier to remain in repetition, easier to recycle the same emotions, to carry the same fears, to whisper the same excuses, easier to call this prison a life, but you already know what that brings. A slow suffocation, a dull ache, a sense that you are watching yourself from a distance, never truly inside your own existence. Isn't this the deeper fear? Not that the unknown will destroy you, but that the known already has? It is not the unknown that kills the soul, but the certainty that nothing will change. Let yourself sink deeper into this paradox. When you stand still in your certainty, time itself begins to repeat. Days blur, years loop, dreams decay in the corners of memory. You call this safety, but it is only stagnation dressed as stability. The unknown, by contrast, fractures time. It shatters repetition and opens doorways where none existed. To step into it is to step into a life that is not recycled but reborn. Have you not felt déjà vu? Those eerie echoes where moments repeat as though you were stuck inside a loop? That is the symptom of living too tightly bound to certainty. The soul pushes against the edges, trying to remind you that life is not meant to be a loop but a spiral. Each turn deeper, each movement wider. The unknown is what lifts you from the flat circle into the spiral's ascent. There is an ancient memory hidden in your bones. You felt it as a child, before the world trained you to demand guarantees. You stepped into the forest and every tree felt alive. Every shadow hid a secret. Every breeze carried a possibility. You were not afraid of not knowing. You were alive in it. Somewhere along the way, that memory was buried under rules, fears, demands for control. But the memory is still there, pulsing quietly beneath your skin, waiting to be uncovered. And maybe this is what you are doing now. Listening not to me, but to yourself, to the voice that has always whispered, even when drowned out by noise. You are more than this. You are meant to leap. You are meant to trust what cannot be seen. You didn't remember the truth. It remembered you. Feel how those words echo inside you. The truth does not need to be chased, argued, or proven. It emerges the moment you stop grasping for certainty. The unknown is not outside of you. It is the deepest part of you, the place where your soul is still free, still unshaped by the weight of control. To walk into the unknown is to walk back into yourself. And yes, the mind will resist. It will scream of danger, of risk, of ruin. It will parade every failure from the past as evidence against trusting again. But remember, the mind is not an oracle. It is a mirror of what has already been, not a prophecy of what will come. When you mistake memory for truth, you forfeit the unknown's gift. But when you step beyond memory, you finally open to creation. Perhaps you ask, how do I trust? How do I leap when fear is louder than faith? You do not erase fear. You do not silence it. You walk with it. You carry it into the mist, trembling and shaking, and still you step. That is trust, not the absence of fear, but the refusal to be ruled by it. And the moment you step, something happens. Reality bends. Paths you never saw before begin to appear, not because they weren't there, but because you had never reached the vantage point from which they could be seen. This is the secret. The unknown does not reveal itself before you leap. It reveals itself because you leap. Certainty is retrospective. The wings appear only in the air, never on the ground. Think of the moments in your life where you did leap. The job you dared to take without knowing. The words of love you spoke without assurance. The decision that made no sense but felt undeniable. Did those leaps not transform you? Did they not pull threads of destiny into motion that would never have existed had you clung to safety? And even if they did not end as you imagined, did they not carve you deeper, awaken you further, shape you into someone more alive? The unknown is not cruel. It simply refuses to flatter your illusions. It tears down what is false so that what is true may rise. And if you feel yourself trembling at its edge, know this trembling is holy. It is not weakness, it is initiation. Imagine now that your life is a dream. Every choice is a door, every fear is a shadow, every unknown is a symbol. If you read this dream as you would a vision at night, what would it be saying? That the monster at the edge of the forest is not there to devour you, but to guard the treasure. That the fog on the path is not there to blind you, but to force you inward to your intuition. That the leap is not a fall into emptiness, but a fall into yourself. These are not metaphors. They are reminders. Your subconscious speaks this language. Your soul understands it. The only question is, will you? The dream has always been speaking. Through the moments you called coincidence, through the signs you dismissed as random, through the feelings you buried because they made no rational sense, the unknown speaks in this language, and it waits for you to listen. But listening requires surrender. It requires you to stop treating life as a puzzle to be solved, and start treating it as a river to be entered. You cannot stand on the bank demanding guarantees. You must let your feet touch the current, Let it carry you into bends you cannot see. Only then do you discover that the river was not trying to drown you. It was trying to return you to the ocean you forgot you belonged to. This is what the unknown truly is, not an enemy, but the ocean calling you back, and the fear you feel at its edge is only the memory of separation, the ache of forgetting what you already are. The unknown is not against you, it is you, unrecognized. When you begin to live this way, something shifts. You no longer waste your days building walls against uncertainty. You begin to walk with it, breathe with it, even trust it. You start to notice that the greatest beauty in your life, the love, the moments of awe, the sudden opportunities, they never arrived through certainty. They came unannounced, disguised as interruptions, wrapped in the unknown. So what if the very thing you have been resisting is the only thing that has ever truly loved you? What if the unknown is not chaos, but the hidden intelligence of the soul, rearranging reality on your behalf? This is why clinging to control never works. It is like holding your breath, hoping the world will stop moving until you are ready. But life is breath itself. The inhale is the known, the exhale is the unknown. You cannot survive on only one. To deny the unknown is to deny half of your own being, and maybe this is why you feel exhausted, because you are trying to hold your breath at the edge of infinity. What would happen if you finally exhaled? If you let go of the grasping, the rehearsing, the need to predict? You would not vanish. You would expand. You would dissolve into a rhythm larger than the self, and discover that the unknown does not destroy you, it carries you. Perhaps you've noticed how life repeats itself when you resist. The same arguments, the same heartbreaks, the same invisible walls. Each cycle is a reminder. You are circling because you are afraid to spiral. The unknown is the spiral. It is the door out of repetition, the ascent into a new timeline. And once you step into it, you realize that what you thought was death was only rebirth. Even now, as you listen, you feel this truth pressing at the edges of your chest. A whisper that says, you are not as small as you've been pretending. You are not as fragile as your fear suggests. You are the dreamer of this dream. And the unknown is simply the part of you that has not yet been dreamt. You are not walking into the unknown. The unknown is walking into you. Do you see it now? Every time you tried to control, you shrank. Every time you let go, you expanded. Control is contraction. Trust is expansion. And the unknown is simply the infinite expansion waiting for your yes. So I ask you now, not as a command, but as a reflection. What are you still holding back from? What leap waits at the edge of your awareness, pulsing, calling, demanding to be taken? And if not now, then when? The unknown will not vanish. It will wait for you at every turn, in every dream. Behind every mask of certainty, you can fight it or you can walk with it. But know this, the unknown is patient, it is eternal. It will wait for lifetimes if it must, but your soul is not infinite in its tolerance for delay. It aches to move now, it longs to leap now. Do not confuse waiting with safety. Waiting is simply the slow erosion of possibility. Trust is the only real ground you will ever know. So when the mist rises before you, when the path ends and the abyss begins, remember this, the abyss is not empty, it is full of yourself. Step into it and you will not fall, you will only remember. And when you remember, the world itself will shift. You will look around and see that the river has always been carrying you, the ocean has always been calling you, and the unknown has always been home.